Hey everyone, and welcome back.
Yeah.
We're going to do a deep dive today on something that is incredibly useful, especially if you're learning English as a second language.
Yeah,
We're going to talk about how to apologize
that's a good one.
effectively in English.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that a lot of language learners
Mm-hmm.
struggle with this
So-
because it's not just a simple, I'm sorry.
Yeah, apologies are so nuanced.
Yeah.
And they're really an art form, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So much more to it than just saying, I'm sorry.
So much more to it.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, I think when you're thinking about apologizing, you have to think about all the other things that go into it, like your tone of voice,
Oh, absolutely.
your body language, and then also the cultural context.
Oh, the cultural context,
Yeah.
right, because
Yeah.
what might be considered polite in one culture might be considered
Right.
rude in another culture,
Yeah.
or too forward, or too much,
Or not enough.
or not enough.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you really have to be careful and think about all of those things.
Okay, so let's break it down for our listeners who are learning English as a second language.
Okay.
What are some of the ways that we can apologize effectively in English?
Well, I think a good place to start is with the basics.
Okay,
So when you want to apologize, you can, of course, use the phrase, I'm sorry.
great.
And then after that, to make it even more impactful, you need to be specific about what you're apologizing for.
Okay, so I'm sorry for being late.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry for hurting your feelings.
Yeah. I'm sorry I ate the last piece of pizza.
Oh, yeah, good one.
Be specific about it so that the person knows exactly what you're apologizing for.
So they know what you're talking about,
Uh-huh.
so they don't have to guess?
Exactly.
Okay, so be specific.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Well, then let's take it a step further. And instead of just saying what you did,
Okay.
explain why you did it.
Okay.
I'm sorry I'm late. I got caught in traffic.
Okay.
So you're not just making an excuse.
Yeah.
You're providing context for the person.
You're adding context.
So they understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it shows that you're not just like throwing out a blanket apology.
Yeah, sure.
You're actually giving them
Yeah.
reasons behind it.
Yeah. A genuine explanation.
Yeah.
Not just an excuse.
Right. Okay, so add some context.
Uh-huh.
What else?
And sometimes, especially if you've made a pretty big mistake, you need to express remorse.
Ooh.
You know, you really want to drive it home that you feel bad about it.
Mhm.
Like, I feel terrible about what happened.
Yeah.
I really messed up, you know?
You're taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're really
Yes.
showing that
Yeah.
you feel bad.
And you regret it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've always been curious about this.
Yeah.
Like, we can say I'm sorry a million times, but sometimes that gets a little bit
Oh, sure.
What are some other phrases that we can use
Oh, there are tons.
instead of I'm sorry? I mean, that's a good one to start with, but
Yeah.
what are some other ones?
You could say, I apologize for,
Okay.
please forgive me for.
Ooh.
Those are a little bit more formal, so they might be useful
Okay.
in like a professional setting.
So if you like spilled coffee on your boss's report,
Right. Exactly.
I apologize for spilling coffee on your report.
Yeah, please forgive me.
Right.
You could even combine them.
Ooh.
I apologize for being late. Please forgive me. I got caught in a terrible traffic jam.
Wow. You really went all out on that one.
Well, you know, sometimes you really have to.
You really messed up.
You got
You
it.
got to lay it on thick.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got different levels of formality.
Yeah.
We can add context.
Mm-hmm.
We can express remorse.
Mm-hmm.
What else can we do to make our apologies more effective?
Tone of voice
Ooh.
is so important. You can say all the right words,
Yeah.
but if your tone is wrong,
Yeah.
then it's not going to come across as sincere.
Right. Like if
No.
you're being sarcastic.
Yeah, if you're rolling your eyes.
Yeah. If you're like, oh, it's so.
You don't mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your tone of voice should be
Yeah, it should be
soft and gentle and genuine.
like you really mean it.
Yeah.
Okay, so tone of voice matters a lot.
Yeah.
Now, what about body language?
Oh, body language is huge. I mean, we're talking about nonverbal cues here
Yeah.
that play such a huge role in communication.
So, how do we use our body language to apologize?
Well, I think one of the most important things is eye contact.
Okay.
When you're apologizing to someone, make sure that you're making eye contact with them.
Okay.
It shows that you're engaged,
Okay.
that you're listening.
So, no looking at your phone,
No looking at your phone,
not looking at your shoes.
not fidgeting with your hands.
Right.
Yeah, you want to be present
Be present.
in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also really helpful to have kind of a relaxed and open posture.
So, don't cross your arms.
Don't cross your
And clench your fists.
Yeah,
That makes you look defensive.
Yeah.
Instead, you want to have open palms.
open
Maybe a gentle touch,
if it's appropriate.
if it's appropriate.
If it's appropriate.
And it's appropriate.
Yeah. Okay.
You want to seem receptive.
So eye contact,
Mm-hmm.
open posture,
Yeah.
and a sincere tone of voice.
Mm-hmm.
These are all really good tips.
Yeah.
Now let's kind of put it all together and create a little mock conversation here
Okay.
to show our listeners how this might play out in real life.
Sure.
So let's say that I'm a student
Okay.
and I forgot to bring a book to class.
Okay. I'll be the teacher.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So I walk in and I'm like, "Good morning, Professor.
Yeah.
I am so sorry, but I forgot to bring the textbook today.
Okay.
I completely spaced it. And I know you said it was important for today's lesson."
It's all right. I understand that things happen. However, the textbook is essential for today's activities, so could you please make sure to bring it tomorrow?
"Yes, Professor, I will definitely bring it tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll even set a reminder on my phone so I don't forget again.
All right.
Thank you for understanding."
You're welcome. Now let's get started with the lesson.
Okay, so I think that went pretty well.
Yeah, you were very sincere.
I was sincere.
You maintained good eye contact.
I did maintain good eye contact.
Yeah, and you even gave a little explanation.
Yeah, and I promised to do better next time.
Exactly, and see how I was calm and understanding.
You were very calm.
As the teacher.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah. You want to do that.
Understand.
When someone apologizes to you sincerely,
Yeah.
you want to accept that apology
Right.
gracefully
And not hold on to it.
and move forward.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
You don't want to
Don't hold a grudge.
hold on to anger
Yeah.
or resentment.
Yeah.
That doesn't help the situation.
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah, we have. We talked about being specific,
Mm-hmm.
adding context, expressing remorse,
Yes.
using different phrases,
Yes.
and paying attention to our tone of voice and body language.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
But remember, mastering apologies takes practice.
Yes.
You're not going to get it right away.
And it's okay to make mistakes.
It's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Just learn from them.
As long as you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, and keep practicing
Yeah.
until it feels natural.
Until it feels natural.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think before we move on, we should do a little vocabulary recap
Oh, that's a good idea.
just to kind of refresh.
Especially for
Until
those
learning.
who are learning English.
Yeah.
So what are some of the key vocabulary words we've used today?
Well, we talked about remorse.
Okay, remorse.
Remorse means deep regret or guilt for a wrong that you've committed.
Okay.
It's that feeling of, ugh, I really messed up and I feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's remorse.
Okay, remorse.
What about the word sincere?
Sincere.
We talked about the importance of being sincere.
Yeah, sincere means genuine and heartfelt.
Okay.
You really mean what you're saying.
You mean it. You're
Yeah.
not just saying it.
It's not just coming out of your mouth.
Right.
You really feel it in your heart.
So a sincere apology is one that comes from the heart,
Yes.
not just from your lips.
Exactly.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Nonverbal cues.
Nonverbal cues.
What are nonverbal cues?
That's a fancy way of saying communication without words.
Okay.
So your body language,
Uh-huh.
your facial expressions,
Okay.
your tone of voice,
Ooh, all that good stuff.
all of that. It's
Yeah.
communicating,
Yeah.
but without words.
Okay, so it's not just what you say,
Yeah.
it's how you say it.
It's how you say it. Uh-huh.
Gracefully.
Gracefully.
We talked about accepting an apology gracefully.
Yeah, gracefully means doing something in a polite and dignified way. So if someone apologizes to you and you want to accept that apology gracefully,
Yeah.
you do it with kindness
Okay.
and understanding.
Even if you're still a little bit upset.
Yeah, even if you're still hurt,
Yeah.
you just accept it with grace.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
You got it.
So we've learned some new vocabulary today. We've kind of broken down
Yeah.
all of the pieces of a sincere apology.
Yes.
What's something that you would like our listeners to think about?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I guess I would ask them, but can you think of a time when you received a truly sincere apology?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. And what made it stand out to you?
What made it so special?
Yeah. And share your thoughts in the comments.
Ooh, yeah. Let us know.
Yeah, we'd love to hear.
Yeah, I'm really curious to hear what everybody has to say about that.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground here
Yeah.
in this first part of our deep dive into apologizing in English. We've kind of explored all the key elements of an effective apology, and I'm excited to keep going
Yeah, let's keep diving in.
to this topic after a short break.
So before the break, we were talking about apologizing in English.
Yeah, it really is an art form.
It is.
It's not easy.
No, it's not.
And like you were saying, there's so many cultural differences.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that in some cultures, apologies are more about like saving face
Right.
or maintaining social harmony
Yeah.
than actually expressing regret.
Exactly, yeah. It's more about like a social obligation than a genuine feeling of remorse.
So how can someone who's learning English as a second language,
Yeah.
how can they kind of navigate
Right.
all of these
All these
cultural differences?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it can be really tricky.
It can be a minefield.
It can be a minefield for sure because you don't want to offend anyone.
Right.
And you want to make sure that you're coming across as sincere.
Yeah.
So I think one of the best things you can do is observe.
How native English speakers apologize
Okay.
in different situations.
Okay.
So pay attention to their tone of voice,
Tone, body language.
and the specific words they use.
So it's all about observation.
Yeah, it's about immersing yourself in the language and the
Yeah.
culture.
Kind of learning by osmosis.
Exactly.
Good.
And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
If you're not sure.
If you're ever unsure, just ask,
Yeah.
a trusted friend or a colleague for advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about being specific,
Mm-hmm.
understanding cultural context, observing native speakers.
Hmm.
What are some other
What are some other...
tips for crafting a really sincere apology?
Okay.
Yeah.
So one tip is to avoid making excuses.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at that one.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easy to just want to,
deflect.
yeah, deflect and be like, well, it's not really my fault because of this.
Because of this.
Because of the traffic.
Exactly. Yeah. So instead of saying, I'm sorry I'm late, but the traffic was terrible,
Right.
you could say, I'm sorry I'm late. I should have left earlier to account for traffic.
Oh, so you're taking ownership.
You're taking ownership,
Yeah.
which shows maturity.
And shows that you're an adult.
Yes, and sincerity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't make excuses.
Okay, don't make excuses.
Take responsibility.
Take responsibility.
And then another tip is don't be afraid to get personal.
Ooh.
Yeah, share your feelings.
Ooh.
Explain how the situation has affected you.
Okay.
That can make your apology more impactful.
So instead of just being like, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings,
Right.
you could say something like, I'm so sorry I hurt your feelings. I feel terrible about it, and I value our friendship way too much to let this come between us.
Exactly.
So you're being vulnerable.
You're being vulnerable.
You're opening up.
You're showing empathy.
Yeah.
And you're showing that you're willing to repair the relationship.
Okay, so be vulnerable. Express your feelings.
Express how you feel.
Okay, this is really helpful.
Good.
I feel like I'm getting it. I'm
Good.
starting to understand.
I'm glad.
But I will say I'm still a little nervous to put this into practice.
I understand it can feel a little daunting.
It's scary.
Yeah, especially when you're worried about making a mistake.
I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the wrong thing.
I get it. But here's the thing. Everyone makes mistakes.
Oh, that's true.
Everyone messes up. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid to make mistakes.
As long as you learn from them.
Exactly. Just learn from them and keep practicing.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
Good.
Now, I'm curious about this.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about verbal apologies,
Mm-hmm.
but what about non-verbal gestures?
Oh, that's a good question.
Are there any specific gestures that are common
Yeah.
in English-speaking cultures when apologizing?
Yeah, there isn't like one specific gesture that universally signifies an apology. But there are a few nonverbal cues that can convey remorse
Okay, like what?
and sincerity.
I'm all ears.
So maintaining eye contact,
Right, we talked about that.
as we mentioned before,
Yeah.
is crucial.
Yeah.
Another common gesture is a slight bow of the head,
Oh, okay.
which can convey humility.
So it's like you're acknowledging
Yeah, you're acknowledging
that you did something wrong.
that you made a mistake and
Yeah.
that you respect the person.
Okay.
And depending on the situation,
Okay.
a gentle touch on the arm or shoulder can also be appropriate.
Oh, okay.
But it's important to be mindful of personal boundaries
Right.
and cultural norms. So it's
Yeah.
all about reading the situation.
Reading the room.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and responding in a way that's appropriate.
And respectful.
Yeah, okay.
And respectful.
This has been so helpful.
Good. I'm glad.
I feel like I've learned so much.
I'm glad to hear that.
But I know we've only scratched the surface.
Oh, yeah. There's so much more we could talk about.
With apologies.
But I think it's time for another vocabulary recap.
Okay, round two.
Round 2. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Bring it on.
Okay. Confrontational.
Ooh, good one.
We mentioned that direct apologies
Mm-hmm.
might be perceived as confrontational
Yeah,
in some cultures.
yeah.
What does that mean?
So confrontational means tending to deal with situations in an aggressive or hostile way.
Okay.
So in some cultures, a direct apology might be seen as challenging the other person
Okay.
or attacking them
Oh.
rather than expressing regret.
So it's like you're coming at them
Exactly.
instead of being apologetic.
Yeah, you want to be careful with that.
Okay, be careful about being too confrontational.
Yes, especially in cultures that value indirect communication.
Okay, osmosis.
Osmosis.
We talked about learning by osmosis. What does that mean?
So osmosis refers to the process of gradual absorption or assimilation. So learning by osmosis suggests that you can pick up a language naturally
Okay.
by immersing yourself in it
Emergence.
and absorbing information from your surroundings.
So you're like a sponge.
Exactly.
Soaking it all up.
We got it.
Okay, shifting blame.
Shifting blame.
We said it's important to avoid shifting blame.
Yes.
When you apologize, what does that mean?
Shifting blame means trying to avoid responsibility
Okay.
for your actions by placing the blame on someone or something else.
Okay.
So it's like saying, it's not my fault, it's because of
Because of this.
this or because of that.
Because of the traffic.
Yeah, exactly.
Or because of Mercury in retrograde.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
So own up to your mistakes.
Own up to your mistakes.
Don't try to make excuses.
Don't make excuses.
Empathy. We said that expressing empathy can make your apology more impactful.
Yes.
So empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person.
Okay.
So when you apologize with empathy, you're acknowledging the other person's perspective.
So you're putting yourself in their shoes.
You're putting yourself in their shoes.
Trying to see it from their side.
Exactly. And you're showing that you care about how your actions have affected them.
Okay, that's empathy.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and personal boundaries.
Personal boundaries.
We talked about this with like the gentle touch on the arm.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Personal boundaries are the limits we set to protect our physical and emotional well-being.
Okay.
So these boundaries define how we interact with others and what we're comfortable with.
So it's all about respecting people's space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not doing anything that might make them feel uncomfortable.
Right.
So it's always best to err on the side of caution
Yeah.
and be respectful
Yeah.
of those boundaries.
Okay, personal boundaries.
Personal boundaries.
Okay, that's good.
Good.
Now I want to hear from our listeners.
Yes.
Can you think of a time when someone apologized to you, but you didn't feel like the apology was sincere?
Oof. I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there.
What gave it away?
Yeah, what were the signs?
Yeah, what were the signs?
What made you think, I don't think they really mean it?
Yeah, I don't think you're really sorry.
Yeah.
So let us know in the comments.
Yes, share your thoughts.
Yeah, we'd love to hear
We'd love to hear your story.
your insights.
Your insights.
Okay, so we've covered
A lot of ground.
a lot of ground in the second part
Yes, we have.
of our deep dive into apologizing in English.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about cultural context,
Yes.
avoiding excuses,
Avoiding excuses.
expressing empathy,
Expressing empathy.
being mindful of nonverbal cues,
Being mindful.
and personal boundaries.
Yes,
We've learned some new vocabulary.
we have.
What are your final thoughts on this?
My final thoughts.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the most important things to remember is that apologizing is ultimately about connection.
Ooh, connection.
Connection, yeah.
That's interesting. Can you say more about that?
Absolutely. So when we make a mistake and we hurt someone, it creates a rift in the relationship.
Right.
So an apology, when done sincerely, is an attempt to bridge that gap.
To bring you back together.
Bring you back together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about acknowledging the harm that we've caused
Uh-huh.
and taking steps to repair the damage.
Okay, so you're taking responsibility
I
and
think you're
trying to...
You're showing the other person that you value the relationship.
Yeah.
And that you're willing to do what it takes to make things right.
Right. So it's not just about saying the words.
Right.
It's about following through with actions.
Exactly. It's about demonstrating through our actions that we care.
So sometimes actions speak louder than words.
They do.
Like if you can offer to help fix the situation, or maybe make a gesture of goodwill, or just listen.
Yeah, just
Listen to that person's perspective.
be present
Yeah.
and really hear them out.
That goes a long way.
It does.
In showing that you're sincere.
For sure.
Okay. So it's about taking responsibility, showing empathy,
Yeah.
and making amends.
Exactly.
Those are all very powerful actions
Yes, they are.
that can help rebuild trust and strengthen the relationship.
And I think it's also important to remember that apologies are a two-way street.
Ooh, what do you mean by that?
So while it's crucial for the person who made the mistake to apologize sincerely,
Yeah.
it's also important for the person who was hurt to be open to forgiveness.
Oh, so you're saying it takes two to tango.
It does.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is so important.
Forgiveness is key
It's key.
in this whole thing.
It is, because holding on to anger and resentment
Yeah.
can be so damaging.
Got everybody involved.
To everyone involved, to yourself, and
Yeah.
to the relationship.
So how can we foster a culture of forgiveness?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think it starts with empathy.
Empathy.
Trying to understand the other person's perspective.
Even if we don't agree with it.
Even if you don't agree with it,
Yeah.
can help us to let go of anger
Yeah.
and resentment.
Yeah.
So really try to put yourself in the other person's shoes.
Yeah.
And see things from their point of view.
That's powerful stuff.
Yes.
Empathy and understanding.
Yeah.
Those are the keys
They are.
to building bridges and fostering forgiveness.
I love that, building bridges.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think it's important to remember that we're all human. We all make mistakes.
We make mistakes all the time.
All the time. So recognizing our own fallibility can make it easier to forgive others.
When they stumble.
When they stumble, exactly.
We've all been there.
We've all been there.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into apologizing in English, what final words of wisdom do you have for our listeners?
Don't be afraid to apologize.
Okay.
It's a sign of strength, not weakness.
That's good.
Yeah, and a sincere apology combined with empathy and a willingness to make amends can be such a powerful force for healing and growth.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing all of your insights with us today.
You're welcome.
This has been an amazing conversation.
It has.
I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
And to all of you listening out there,
Yes.
thank you so much for joining us on this journey.
We hope you learned something too.
We hope you learned something new.
Yeah.
And that you feel more confident now about navigating the art of apologizing in English.
Because it is an art.
It is an art.
It is.
So keep practicing.
Keep practicing.
Keep learning.
Yeah.
And keep those connections strong.
Absolutely.
Until next time, stay curious.
Stay curious.
And keep those apologies sincere.
Bye, everyone.